Governor Mills announced today she will allow nearly all of the enacted bills held from the prior session of the legislature to become law, but she has vetoed one. Mills vetoed LD 1228, which would make changes to the right to repair law.
Right to repair requires manufacturers to make available the parts, tools, and knowledge involved in repairing a device. In her veto letter, Mills noted that LD 1228 includes a provision that would allow automobile manufacturers to decide how vehicle telemetric data would be accessible to independent auto repair shops. Governor said access to vehicle telemetric data is essential to diagnosing and repairing modern automobiles.
She says that provision would undermine the law approved by Mainers. A list of the bills becoming law and the 7 bills that will be recalled during the legislature can be found on the governor's office website.